The Martian has arrived. We've got a whole lot of other baseball conversation to have, including a 20-piece from the Minnesota Twins against the Cleveland Guardians. You circled this series, kind of a bullshit circle, Aram Layton.
Yeah.
Jack and Aram, just baseball show. We also got to talk about another AL Central thing and an executive change that, like, I wanted to stay away from last week, but now I've had a couple days to sit on it. Happy long weekend, everybody. Just baseball show presented by BetMGM. Programming notes. No Walker Buehler on this episode. Walker Buehler tomorrow. Walker was flying back to Arizona from Oklahoma City. And, you know, like, we get it, man. He made a rehab. And it was
a pretty big moment for him. For those who may not have caught it, 2 innings, 2 perfect innings. I think it was 3 Ks. Fastball was up to 96 in his first rehab appearance with AAA Oklahoma City. I mean, can't ask for much more than that. Stuff looked good. He looked good. It was fun to see. It was exciting to see. And I think Dodgers fans they have to be really excited for a myriad of reasons, but Walker is going to be very important to this team. And, you know, I think that's something that even if he wasn't, which is impossible, like even if they were star-studded with 5 aces, I think Dodgers fans would still be amped up. It was really cool to see how excited people were on social media and how eager they are to see him back, you know, on the mound for the Dodgers.
100%. And we'll start there, actually. And we're going to talk to Walker. That'll be the Wednesday episode. Thursday, great conversation you and Peter have with Pitching Ninja coming up. Yes, and then Friday, it'll be all 3 of us. So jam-packed short week after the long weekend. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Let's start with Walker Buehler. I mean, in Oklahoma City against a prospect-laden Frisco lineup. I was looking at the lineup, and I was texting a buddy. I was just like, I wish there were some like funny quadruple A guys that he was seeing. Like, I would love to see him face a Dom Smith type or a Luke Voigt type. But no, it was Evan Carter, and it was a whole bunch of other big-time prospects in AAA Round Rock. And this guy, I mean, there's a different level of pitcher when you go to AAA, which is the second highest quality of baseball in the United States, probably in the world.
Yeah.
And you make it look so elementary and easy. And that's what he did for 2 innings. And dude, I'm going to bring this up to him. He looked like a brick shithouse, man.
He looked ready to go. He looked ready to go. I mean, again, it was cool to see the Gavin Stone piggyback too.
Yeah.
Where you get 2 innings of perfect ball from Walker, and then Gavin Stone on the piggyback going 6 shutty as well with 1 walk and 7 Ks. That was pretty awesome to see. I actually never really thought about it through that lens. I would love to see a AAA, like a good AAA lineup against the NPB, like the average NPB team, and see how they stack up and see what that looks like. I think it would be a good 7-game series.
I think so.
I think it would be really fun. Also, speaking of AAA teams and prospect-laden teams, and I don't want to take us off course here, but before I forget, Norfolk, like with the AAA affiliate of the Orioles, I think in terms of like prospect pedigree, I'm not sure there's ever been a better lineup. We said that going into this year, and now Jackson Holliday has somehow played his way up into AAA. And now you have a lineup that I think includes 5 just baseball top 100 prospects.
So here are the notable names on the Norfolk Tide's active roster right now. Jackson Holliday, Kobe Mayo, Connor Norby, Joey Ortiz, Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kyle Stowers. And then let's go to the Hill right now. You've got Tyler Wells working his way back. You've got John Means on a rehab. Cade Povich. I mean, dude, this is insane.
That I think that team, and this is no disrespect to the NPB, that team I think wins the NPB title. That team's nasty.
Yes.
I know there's some really special talents that'll be superstars in Major League Baseball out there, but that team's well rounded. I always hate the joke of like, could this AAA team, you know, win how many games at the big league level? That team's winning some big league games. That team's winning some ball games right there. That's a fun ball club. I think I might take that ball club. Would you take them over the Oakland A's in a 7-game series?
I think I would. If I
mean, they've got the veterans on rehab. So you got John Means. So like, game 1, you got the advantage.
If you're worried about the bullpen, you've got Brian Baker, who's there. Like,
he's on rehab. There's your closer.
So yeah, no, I think I'm taking them to Maybe a gentleman's sweep by Oakland. No, give me the A's and 6. Give me
A's
the
and 6. Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Here's another one too, real quick for the prospect heads. Roman Anthony, who's a top 10 prospect according to Just Baseball, and Kyle Teal, who is the Red Sox first round pick this year. Yeah. Draft slider catcher from Virginia. Teal and Roman Anthony go up to Double-A Portland to join Nick York and Marcelo Meyer. So that offense has gotten really fun too.
I still can't believe Kyle Teal fell to 14. The Red Sox got blessed. He already looks so damn good. And Wyatt Langford will be heading up to Double-A very, very soon. That guy looks unbelievable.
He's there. He just got to Frisco.
He just got there too. That's another guy. How the hell did he fall to where he fell? The Rangers are blessed that they were able to snag him. And then, of course, Dylan Cruz already in Double-A. So we'll do some draft stuff soon on the call-up and on here to kind of check in on all those guys. But they are definitely moving as fast as ever. I think that's very clear, whether you look at Jackson Holiday from the year prior in AAA or all of these guys in Double-A or some of these other guys that were drafted a year ago, not even in the first round, quickly pushing their way to double. We're seeing a lot more, I think, aggression when it comes to pushing guys through the minors because they're just good now. They're just a different level of good.
Right. So the college breed is different. And you talk about Cruz, Langford just got to double. I mean, Paul Skeens, hey, he just kind of proved that bad outing in his Double-A debut was a fluke. He looked amazing in his second Double-A start. But the thing that fascinates me is the high school draftees getting off the complex this quickly. Walker Jenkins excelling off the complex. Dylan Head, end of the first round by San Diego, already off the complex. Max Clark, already off the complex. Just fascinating to me.
These kids are different now. They really are. It's crazy.
They're so different. Hey, man, look at the Martian. In the first weekend of baseball in his life at the big league level, this guy has 2 pumps, including on the very first swing he takes at the major league level against a future first ballot Hall of Famer. Jason Dominguez, we had a long Dominguez conversation with Peter, and I said statistically he could look similar to Outman because it could be 20 to 25 homers and maybe 25 bags in his first full season. I'm taking 73 homers. Fuck yeah. Let's go to Barry Bonds.
I mean, dude, I know it didn't go that far, but the second one, I mean, that was just a nasty swing. There's the quickness and just that thing went straight up into orbit. The first one was also, the first home run was special because it's off of Justin Verlander. It's backside the other way, just effortless pop. I think the most impressive thing, though, to this point is we've got 13 Jason Dominguez plate appearances thus far and only a pair of strikeouts. And that's what we were talking about in terms of this kid is more polished than people give him credit for. Yes, we are seeing flashes of the power. It's not going to be Ellie De La Cruz 120 mile per hour home runs, but he'll get into one. He'll hit his 115s, 116s, which, by the way, Ronnie Mauricio as well, popping the hardest hit ball of the season by any Met player. We told you he's got some juice. But Dominguez, I don't think it's a coincidence. You look at this Yankees team, they're playing better ball with the young guys. It's a more inspired level of baseball. And all of a sudden, they're winning some more ball games. They're in it more, and they're just more competitive. I think they're probably kicking themselves for not doing this a little bit earlier because I think on the Yankees side, they looked at this as waving the white flag. But in turn, they may end up with a better record than if they kept all the old guys together and tried to run it through the rest of the year.
Yeah, no, I think so too, man. And I don't know. There's something about baseball in New York for the last month of the season that would kind of make me want to go. And obviously all eyes are on the Jets and Giants right now. They shouldn't be on Jalen Brunson's New York Knicks because they just fell to Lithuania, who, I mean, shot the lights out. Did you watch that? The FIBA World Cup thing?
USA losing to
the US lost to Lithuania.
I just saw that on the scores flashing at the bottom, and I don't know how that's humanly possible.
I have no idea, dude. And I tried watching a little bit of it. Shea actually had a great outing for Canada, but that was, beside the fact. Baseball in New York, if you're looking for something to do on a weeknight, it might be worth it now. In both,
no doubt. Games, especially Mets games, shockingly cheap. And when
not shockingly, dude, they gave up.
I understand that, but it's New York, and everything's expensive. You can get into it. If you're visiting or whatever, go to a ball game right now because this is probably the best time you're going to be able to go in terms of affordability of the seats, and you're going to see good stuff. Like instead of watching quadruple A guys, both teams have a lot of young talent that I think is worth watching, to your point, that you can look back on and say, hey, I saw Jason Dominguez in his rookie season. I saw the young core of the Mets in their rookie season as well, because I think a lot of those guys, several of those guys will be a big part of their future. So it's fun. I'm excited about the future for both of these teams in terms of the young players, but I'm also excited for some cheap September tickets, because I'll probably pull up to a few Mets games and probably sit better than I have when I've gone to games as a fan.
Because, dude, why not? And Mauricio popped a 117. You got my mind thinking about 3-0 on the outer black from Emmett Sheehan, might I add, that was taking 121.2 to dead center from Acuna. We were blessed with two excellent series this past weekend. Dodgers Braves for sure. Cubs Reds the other one, and I want to shout out Cubs Reds in Cincinnati, because there were two walk-offs there. Saturday night, Javier Assad goes 8 shutout, and the Reds figure out a way to win that game 2-1 on an Ellie De La Cruz single and a Hunter Renfroe fielder's choice. Dansby Swanson dove to try and start a double play. Like, there was something about that series in the height of a wild card hunt in Cincinnati between the Cubs and the Reds.
Yeah,
that was a ton of fun. And we'll start with that, and then we'll get to Dodgers Braves. What did you take away from that series in Cincinnati this weekend?
I think the biggest thing that I saw with especially the Cubs and the Reds, and Milwaukee as well, I think you can make the case with them as well. We've been joking about the Centrals and how trash they are. The AL Central's definitely trash, but the NL Central, you can see it's starting to come together, because and that was my big takeaway, is that this division's going to be good soon. And these teams, these rivalries, I think are really going to grow, because you're going to have a nucleus on several teams here that are going to play each other a lot. And I know that division games aren't the same as they used to be. You don't play your division a trillion times and way more than everybody else, but there's always going to be that regional contention. These teams are all very close to each other, especially in the NL Central. And also there's already those embedded rivalries, and they still have to compete for the same division title. But specifically in that series, man, all I could think of is I'm looking at several guys on both teams that are going to be a big part of their future. And I'm like, this is going to be a fun rivalry moving forward. And it's already fun right now. And both of these teams are far from, I think, the finished product, and I think far from how good they're going to be next year too. So I think this is just the appetizer to what's going to be a really fun battle for the Central over the next several years. If you look at Milwaukee, Chicago, and Cincinnati, and even you can make the case for Pittsburgh, and St. Louis isn't going to suck forever. You could have 5 teams that are all kind of battling it out here in the very near future.
This division is very exciting moving forward, and I think that is incredibly indicative of kind of where we're getting with baseball, where the overall baseline of prospect is way higher, and there are a lot of standouts in every organization. So, yeah, I mean, we look at St. Louis, like, they got to figure out pitching. They're a big market team. They have 1 billion households tuned into every fucking telecast on a given night, and it doesn't matter. Like, they're still tuning in to Cardinals telecast, so they're gonna have the money to spend on pitching, because Drew Rom unfortunately is not the answer. But like, again, Pittsburgh has a top 5 system in baseball. Milwaukee looks great. They've got a bunch of guys under a lot of control long term, and Yelich has bounced back, and he's the long-term pillar. The Cubs and the Reds are in such a unique spot. COVID's back out of nowhere. And the fact that the Reds were able to weather the COVID storm here is really impressive. And I'm fascinated to see how Connor Phillips looks tonight in his debut against Seattle. I don't know how.
I think it's a tough draw for him. I hate this, because I'm always excited for a guy to make his debut. And Connor Phillips has made so much progress this year to even be considered in a call up in this kind of situation, because he put himself in position to be that emergency promotion. But at that same point, he's not up if it weren't for this kind of outbreak and crappy situation here with that Reds team. So, I mean, here's the thing. Stuff's crazy. If he's locked in, I've seen more shocking things than a guy like Connor Phillips shoving right out of the gate. So it'll be fun to watch. I would say he's playing with house money, though, because he's so young. He's still raw. The plan wasn't really to get him up this year. If he shoves, that's awesome. If he struggles, this was just the arm that gave them the best shot out of any of the arms that they had available. And I agree with them going to him. I do think that he gives them the best shot. If you go with somebody else, it's pretty much an automatic 5 spot.
Yeah.
You go to Levi Stout or somebody, like it's going to be an automatic 5 spot. It might be a 5 spot from Connor Phillips, but there's outcomes, I think, where he shoves, and I'm willing to roll the dice on that. And maybe he'll learn something from this outing too. I will say the Mariners offense has been cold all of a sudden. Again, the second we start getting excited about them, they start to cool down a little bit.
Yeah, well, and there are outings, we see it from Connor Phillips in the minor leagues, and I think he's holding on to the minor league strikeout crown right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% certain on that, but I know he was a couple of weeks ago. But Phillips, there are outings that he's had this year where he gets through 5 innings of 1-run ball, but he walks 5. So it may be a tightrope act, but he can absolutely give you 5 innings of 1 or 2-run ball. It's just going to look frustrating.
Yeah.
But who cares when you're in a playoff race?
Exactly. And I think he has a chance to give you the best shot. Can I give you his last 2 starts though?
Yes.
This is insane.
Yes.
So on the 26th against Toledo, 1 1/3, 6 hits, 6 earned runs. Then no strikeouts. Then his last start leading up into this one, 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 6 Ks. I know you've seen some of this too, up close and personal in Indy, where he's a 22-year-old with great stuff that's just vibing out in AAA, just trying to figure it out, seeing the ups and downs. And I think they're hoping to catch up. And again, I think it's the right move, but don't hold it against him if he struggles. That's all I'm going to say.
He's a friend of the program too. He was on the call up and we had a great conversation with Connor. It was kind of stacked with Jared Jones of the Pirates in one of those episodes a couple of weeks back. And Phillips was very candid about making the switch from baseball to baseball. And we've talked a lot about the tact baseball in the Southern League, but he went from the tact baseball to a Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And he may still be trying to figure this shit out. I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Hitters, the adjustment process was a bit quicker than pitchers because, like, hitters, you're hitting the white thing coming towards you. And it's harder to hit in the front half of the year, but then it gets easier to hit in the second half of the year. With pitchers, you're going from like throwing, a waterlogged ball to a ball that's, just kind of sitting there chalky as shit.
100% affects the pitchers way more. Junior Caminero is hitting 385 over his last 25 games in that league. I mean, it's
no adjustment needed.
I'll make one prediction here though. I think Connor Phillips throws 70% fastballs, and he should. That's the way you succeed. If they get on top of some heaters and beat you, okay, tip your cap. It's 95 to 97, empty the tank with the fastball, challenge them. We've seen guys in their debut succeed that way. Connor Phillips' last start in AAA, he threw 83 pitches, 59 were fastballs, had a great start. I think that's what he does, and I think he has a decent start. So we'll see how that goes. To wrap up on the Central, though, I'm going to ask you a difficult question. You could buy one team's future. So you basically get to take over one of these franchises, finances and all that shit aside. Just you're taking over the success of a team. Which one are you selecting here of the 5 in the NL Central? Because I think they're all relatively in the same conversation.
Yeah.
Whose future are you taking right now?
So finances, including finances, I take the Chicago Cubs. Excluding finances, I still take the Chicago Cubs.
And yeah, I don't hate that answer at all. That might be the answer.
With finances, the way that I kind of look at it is they have so much organizational talent, and I know that some of these guys are going to turn into stars. I know it, but they have the financial capability to pay a starting pitcher because a lot of pitchers want to be a Chicago Cub. It's fun to throw there. You've heard Stroman talk about how it's really fun to throw there. They can pony up and give Bellinger $200 million after they gave Dansby Swanson $170 million. The Reds can't do that, and the Reds can't lure any starting pitcher in free agency. I think the Reds are like the answer by sheer talent alone, but situationally, I feel so much better if I'm the GM of the Cubs, knowing that I'm swimming in a bigger pool financially, and I'm a more alluring destination for free agents.
And that's why I said no money, asshole. So team talent.
Okay.
But
team
no, you're 100%
talent.
right. No, you're 100% right. And to build off of that, aside from Jameson Tyone, they don't have any major financial commitments. Yeah, Seiya Suzuki, like it's a lot of Ian Happ was extended, but it's a lot of.
Dansby's a good one. That's the thing. Like
Dansby's a cheap deal.
Money.
That's a cheap deal. I think that's almost a below market value deal at this point. If you're looking at I know he's been slumping, but I think he's been playing through some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. To your point, of course, if I could buy stock in one of these franchises, given the financial means that the Cubs have, it's the Cubs. But how about just from a pure roster and farm system standpoint?
So Reds, but it's close. I think the Cubs are second, and that is why I guess my bias comes in there, not entirely factoring out finances to say, yeah, probably still the Cubs. I also believe in the Cubs' development at the major league level a little bit more than I do the Reds.
It's a tough one for me, and I think the Brewers are a very viable answer if they had more control of a Corbin Burns. You look at the rotation. What is that going to look like in a couple years? I have no idea, and I don't think anybody knows.
Too, yep.
So yeah, and then we'll see what they have with Peralta and long term. Pittsburgh is worthy of consideration, but I don't think that the farm system is up to par with the Cubs and Cincinnati. Like, it's in the conversation, but the other two teams have more big league talent. So I would lean Cubs even purely on roster, just because the Reds are really, really good. But this is another organization where I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, yes, you've got Green, you've got Lodolo, who, like, now I'm starting to wonder, this just might be one of those guys who becomes invisible, and we joke that he doesn't exist. Yeah. And then Abbott's great, but let's see him do it again. And then, I mean,
what do you have in Ashcraft? What do you have in Graham Ashcraft?
They don't know. And then Connor Phillips, you're hoping develops into something. You look at the rest of the pitching prospects, it's kind of the same thing. Chase Petty, you hope develops into something. I like Rhett Lauder a lot, but we haven't seen him throw a professional pitch yet. I think the Cubs are the answer. Their farm system's good. They have pitching questions, but I like what they're starting to build there. Wicks has looked great. Justin Steele has looked great. Cade Horton's one of the best pitching. Actually, you know what? The Cubs. The Cubs is the answer. I'm sorry to Reds fans. Cubs are the answer.
Yeah, I think the Cubs are the answer. And dude, Steele has not only looked great, Steele has looked like the NL Cy Young winner.
Yeah, which
8
is insane.
Shutout innings, 12 punch outs, friend of the show. Dude.
Yeah, it's his.
Amazing. Do you think it's his right now?
Am I remembering correctly? Was Zach Gallen's last start not that great?
It was not that good.
Yeah.
I can't give it to Snell, man. I can't stand the Blake Snell experience. I can't do it.
No, Snell. It ain't Snell. It's Justin Steele should be the Cy Young favorite, unless I'm missing something.
I don't think you're missing anything.
I mean, we're seeing a Zach Gallen. I know 2 tough lineups, Orioles, Dodgers, but you got racked. 4 home runs against the Dodgers and then 5 earned runs against the Orioles. This is Steele's award to win. And also, I'm going to buy into the narrative side of it a little bit. Yes, Gallen has been the ace for the Diamondbacks, which are a good team. And we were talking about that from the lens of, where are the D-backs without Zach Gallen? That's the catalyst of his Cy Young, argument. But where are the Chicago Cubs without Steele?
Especially now, think about it. Career high 8 innings, career high 12 punchies. This is a week after it's kind of revealed that Marcus Stroman might be done for the year. 2 weeks after, like, it's his show now. There's no Stroman to lean back on.
Yeah, no, I'm all the way in. I wonder what the betting odds with our friends at MGM look like there. By the way, use promo code JustBaseball on BetMGM. To make sure you get that full deposit match, or if you lose your bet, you get that money back in your account. But yeah, I would lay if it's not a heavy favorite. To me, Justin Steele is a no-brainer. The other thing I was thinking about with the Cubs, dude, is they have Steele up there now. We talk about the big league talent that they have, and then you look at the depth that they have pitching wise. Wicks going up there and holding his own, and you hope that Wesneski can still turn into something, and then you hope that some of these other arms, like a Cade Horton, can be up there very soon. Jackson Ferris looks fantastic. It's a really exciting time to be a Cubs fan, and I think they're ahead of the curve here. They're playing with house money. I'm glad that they went, and I'm sure they're very glad that they were buyers at the deadline, because you remember we were like, that's risky. It's one thing to stand pat. It's another thing to go get a Candelario. And I mean, now they're really, really solidified in a safe spot in the NL wild card. They're 3 games up.
Their vibes are really strong right now. Like, they are an easy team to root for when it comes to postseason play, and honestly, the home stretch, just securing this thing.
So if you're the Cubs, who do you want out of the teams that are within a game of the last wild card spot? Give me the order of who you would want to play. if you're the Chicago Cubs. You got, and for those listening, at the time that we're recording this, you have Arizona tied with Cincinnati for the final playoff spot. Miami is a half game out. San Francisco is a game out.
So San Francisco is weird because, like, I would want them on paper, but you get San Francisco in a postseason setting, and it's just like the Giants. Like,
It's
they
still
always
the Giants.
win. Yeah, it's still the Giants. Something about the aura, and it's different cast of characters, but it's still the Giants. I think I'd want Cincinnati, even though they just took 2 or 3 from you in walk-off fashion, and then I would want Miami, and then Arizona. There's something about seeing
where
Gallen
the Giants
and
fit
Kelly.
in?
I think I actually would prefer to see the Giants last. I think in order of preference, I would go Cincinnati, Miami, Arizona, San Francisco.
Here's my thing. Who gets the ball game 2 for the Giants?
Cobb?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
who gets game 3? Kyle Harrison?
Gallen 1. Yeah, shit, Kyle Harrison. So Gallen game 1, Merrill Kelly game 2. Has Kelly been good over the last couple starts?
Been banged up. He's just coming back.
But he doesn't look sharp.
Yeah. And then the Marlins, pitching wise, I mean, it's going to be a buzzsaw. You're going to get Sandy, who I still, on a big game, I'm still taking Sandy.
They'll win 3 games, 1-0.
Yeah, Yuri Perez. I don't want anything to do with that guy. And then you've got a Jesus Luzardo. But that said, the Marlins offense could stall out so quick. So quick. So your order was you'd prefer
Cincinnati
Reds?
1. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm torn on. It's a home game. It's worth noting, by the way, all 3 games are at home for you.
Yeah.
So that does really benefit, I think, when you're hosting the Reds as well, a team that, I mean, the Reds would scare me if I'm playing in their ballpark. And I know they don't have the splits you'd expect, but that fan base, that young team, like, they could just blitz you at home for 10 runs. And you're like, what, before you blink, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen with 3 games on the road. I agree. I think the Reds are one of the teams I'd prefer to face. I'd go red in terms of who I prefer to face to who I want to face the least. I'd go Reds, Giants, Marlins, D-backs. I'm still scared of the D-backs. In terms of star power, that team can really hit. Gallen and Kelly are still a good 1-2 punch. You only have to take 2. I also, the thing is, I don't trust the Marlins whatsoever, but that again, it's a 3-game series. You get 2 dominant starts and it could be a wrap.
My thing with all 4 of these teams is, like, who has been there before? No one, really.
Yeah. And you can say the Giants are always there, but that roster, like, how many guys have truly been there?
Yeah, like Crawford's on your bench kind of hanging out. Jock Peterson in there. Jock has been there. Like, Webb has thrown in some big games, but that's it, man. Like, all these teams, Cincinnati, like, this is shell shock city. I mean, they'll have no idea what's coming when they hear the what. It's like, oh, I didn't know we could play on TBS. That's a thing. We can do that.
What do you think the Marlins are going to say?
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, national TV. Time to shit myself.
Yeah. I don't think they've gotten a national TV game like all year. That's an interesting one. I'd love to hear on the YouTube comments what your priority is, or on Twitter if you're listening. Just post, like, tweet at us what your priority is if you're the Chicago Cubs. What order of teams within a game you'd like to face? Because I think it's very up for interpretation, and they're all equally mediocre. Like,
I think so.
They're all relatively mediocre. Like, they're fine baseball teams, but they all have negative run differentials. And yeah, you can look at the Marlins -44. Cincinnati ain't much better at -34, and Arizona ain't that much better at -24. It's just a bunch of negative run differentials.
It's bizarro, man. 2 teams that are not going to have to worry about the wild card are the Braves and the Dodgers. They just met up this week. Bobby Miller had a great start on Sunday. But dude, Acuna going 454 off Sheehan on Saturday at 121.2. This was a heavyweight fight, and I think we signed up for a heavyweight fight. I didn't know we were going to get it to this extent. And, like, every single out this weekend was fun to watch. And there's always a series like that. And last year it was Braves Mets. Do you remember Fried and DeGrom in like late August? And it was billed, and everybody wanted to watch that game. That was postseason caliber. This whole weekend in LA was postseason caliber. I was watching that, and I got that little feeling in my stomach that I was like, oh, I'm ready to go in the month of October.
It was like the appetizer, right? I mean, it gave you everything you wanted. You got good pitching in some games. You got explosive offense, as you mentioned, with the long balls and with the just ridiculous exit velocities of a Ronald Acuna. You had some good bullpen battles. You got a little bit of everything. And I thought this was one of those where you just know that the Dodgers are going to rise to the occasion and play the Braves really tough. Because I think on paper, I know the Dodgers are really good. I think this Braves team is just a full notch better.
They're perfect. They're full-blown perfect.
Yeah, perfect doesn't always win the World Series, and that's the craziest thing. So you say, oh, well, then that's not perfect. Well, it's just because it's humans playing a sport. But in terms of roster construction, I think this is one of the best teams we've seen in a very, 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 very long time.
Yes.
Like very long time. And it's crazy. And the Braves and the Dodgers just, gave them a fight and knocked them around at home. Yeah. And I think in a 7-game series, they do the same thing. It's just something about the Dodgers. They rise to the occasion, and they're led by a guy who's the best player on the planet right now.
Yeah, well, 2 of like the 3 or 4 best players on the planet right now in Mookie and Freddie Freeman. Freeman is somehow that guy has flown under the radar this year. Is he going to have 60 doubles this year?
Is that where he's at?
I think
he's got 51. Yeah, that's absurd.
He may set a modern record for doubles in a season, or at least like break a couple decade drought of like a 60 double season. I have no idea when the last 60 double season.
It's actually wild. Everyone makes a big stink about Acuna and Freeman not liking each other, and it was funny seeing Freeman hand him over the base. Like, they're grown man. Like, Freeman has no problem doing.
They had a little hug. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's fine. But what's interesting is if you want to just like add some fuel to the fire, these guys have almost identical slash lines.
Yeah,
it is really crazy. So Ronald Acuna Jr. slashing 335, 416, 578. It's a 167 WRC plus and a 6.9 F4. Freddie Freeman, 335, 411, 576. That's a 166 WRC plus and a 6.8 F4. I want to start with one side of this that makes it insane. One, if Ronald Acuna Jr. played half decent defense, he would blow him out of the water in F4.
He'd be a 10-win player this year.
It's so frustrating. He has no excuse to not be good at defense. He's fast as hell and has a cannon for an arm. 2, the fact that Freddie Freeman is accumulating this much WAR as a first baseman is fucking insane. It's absolutely outrageous. So it's a testament to both of these guys. Acuna, you're frustrating me because you could actually have a 10 WAR season like every year. Freddie Freeman, you're insane for what you're doing as a first baseman. And then Mookie Betts, it was one of those things. I don't know if you saw what I like tweeted about it, where it was like, I've never seen a situation between Acuna and Betts where I'm fully positive that one of them is the MVP every time they do something. Acuna hits at 121. I'm like, oh no, it's over. He's the MVP. And then Mookie Betts goes deep twice, and I'm like, oh no, it's over. He's the MVP. How are these guys taking turns definitively being the MVP in my mind? Either I'm nuts or these guys are both just so good that we can't compute it. And I think it's a little of both.
Yeah, I think you're nuts, but I think you're nuts for other reasons. This is the first time you're presenting me with this information, and I've kind of long held that theory that you're insane. But
I just gave you the opening.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I'm never really sold. I just want to go microwave more popcorn, whatever one of them does something.
Yeah, that's
I'm just like, okay, like, hey, just wait till the last month of the season. And now we're to the point where it's, hey, wait for the last 3 weeks of the season. And then when they have great September 10th through 15th, I'm going to say, hey, wait for the last 2 weeks of the season. It's just going to keep on going until we run out of time and it's time for the writers to make a decision. If I'm a writer right now and you handed me a ballot with those 2 names, I've got no idea what I'm doing. No clue. And I'm typically like, I side with, the old head accumulation thing. Acuna's the first guy to go 30-60. Mookie's going to have a 10-win season, I think. What's his WAR at right now?
7-7.
He's probably not going to get there. By the way, quick trivia. Ohtani in terms of B war or R war. Is it reference war, baseball reference war? I don't know what they call it. But that's kind of like the Hall of Fame tracker. That's how I go, like, historically. Shohei Ohtani, I think it was August 31, hit 10 B war, hit 10 war. That's an average of 2 war per month. We're 5 months in. So if he had a 2 war season, he's not going to do it because he's not pitching. If he had a 2 war month in September, that would get him to 12 war. I think that would be the 7th 12 war season in Major League history. Babe Ruth did it 3 times, but there's one guy to do it after 1927.
It has to be Barry Bonds.
Not Bonds.
After
when Bonds was roided up, I think he was a shit defender, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he definitely had some crazy war seasons.
He was like 10 plus, but I'm talking.
Can you give me a decade?
60s.
60s.
Yeah. But it's like, when I say it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, makes sense. You know, greatest season of all time in modern history that isn't.
Was it Carl Yastrzemski?
It was Yaz.
Yeah.
Yaz's Triple Crown season in 67 was the last and the only 12 war season after Ruth did it in 1927.
That's crazy.
So that's like where we're looking at Shohei Ohtani. If he did both for another month and he got to 2 war in the month of September, he and Carl Yastrzemski would have the 2 best seasons in the last 100 years.
Really funny duo there. One other, like, just 2 other war points. F4, Corey Seager, 5.3 in 93 games is absolutely comical. Nuts. I just want to give him his flowers because it's not just about the 26 pumps in 93 games. It's not just about the 178 WRC plus, which would be one of the best shortstop seasons, arguably, in the modern era. It's also, he's defending pretty well, which is cool to see. Like, he's always been a fine defender, but to be defending at a slightly above average clip, maybe, and hit the way he's hitting. I mean, this guy's one of the best players in Major League Baseball. And if you want to talk about war paces, Davis Schneider, through his first 14 games, accumulated 1.5 F war. So let's see what he's at right now. 17 games, 1.7 F war. So, I mean, there's levels to this shit. And like, Davis Schneider is just on his own. What is that? What is that a pace for? 17 games, 1.7 F war. Like,
16.2. Be a 16 war season.
I mean, if they called him up sooner, he would have done it. It's a shame. Look out, Carl Yastrzemski. But that's the funny thing is David Schneider, his season could be done. He could not play another game. And a 1.7 F war would put him, I think, in the top. I wonder how many position players have qualified position players of a 1.7 F war. It can't be that many. But anyway, that's just a segue to check out our interview on the call up with David Schneider. One of the coolest stories, one of the coolest dudes I've had on that show, I think that we've talked to. And that's got to be one of my favorite conversations I've had, really.
That guy goes from, or there's a term, org guy in every organization. He was an org guy. And the term org guy, if you're not familiar with the term org guy, means somebody that could be in low A one day, be the bullpen catcher in AAA the next day, go to high A and fill in at first base the day after that, and then go back to low A and hang out there for 2 months before, you know, the guy from triple gets hurt. So you got to go back up there again and be the bullpen catcher. Like, that's what org guys are. It's somebody that is just filling in wherever, almost a 0% chance that you are a big leaguer. And whenever Davis Schneider got an opportunity, he hit. And then he got an opportunity to play almost every day in Buffalo, and he hit. And it was like a 950 OPS?
Yeah, and 21 home runs. And I mean, the most impressive thing and the most awesome thing about it, and definitely check out the interview, but he talks about like playing once a week and then going on the development in less than 21 and wanting to walk away. And could you imagine? And the things that kind of happened that convinced him to not walk away was pretty amazing. And then the other side of it that was remarkable was 28th round pick out of high school. Usually every high schooler has a number, and it's like, if you don't meet this number, I'll go to college, and they let the finances make the decision for them.
Yep.
Davis signed for $50,000 out of high school to forego his commitment to Rutgers. And I asked him, just like, hey, why'd you do that? Right. And he's just like the chillest dude ever. He just said, just wanted to play. It's like, would you have taken $10,000? So I think I would have signed for free. I knew if I got my foot in the door, I had a shot, and I could always go back to college. And I was like, nobody approaches it that way. So if you want somebody to root for Davis Schneider. You don't have to root for the Blue Jays, but root for Davis Schneider. It's an awesome story, and he's an awesome dude.
And a sweet mustache, too. He's kind of got Canada's mustache right now. It's not America's mustache because he's a Toronto Blue Jay. But yeah, great conversation on the call-up. Go listen to that. Wrapping up with the AL Central real quick here. Minnesota hung 20 on Cleveland. Cleveland ran out a position player, David Fry, for 64 pitches over 4 innings. Guy threw 4 innings, position player, Cleveland. And you circled this series. You said September 4, this thing starts. This is going to be huge. Lucas Giolito, doesn't matter what threads he's wearing right now. He just kind of stinks right now.
Yeah, who's going to give him the deal, and what's that deal going to look like? It's tough to
it's watch. A 1-year deal right now? Let's be honest. Let's be brutally honest, because this was a guy that I really liked and then frustrated the crap out of me. And we'll wrap on the White Sox making a decision. But, I mean, as somebody that watched his starts consistently from when he was the worst qualified starter in baseball to one of the best in 19 and 20 to now a guy that is just limping into the open market.
Yeah.
It's such a frustrating arc. And I think if he's presented to me and I'm a GM, I say, yeah, I'll do 1 year 6, but that's about it.
I'd do more than 6, but I'd give him 1. I mean, these guys get crazy numbers on 1 year now. Jordan Lyles got more than that.
What is the qualifying? Qualifying is going to be 1 year 19.
Yeah, something like that. Clevenger got 12. To me, he's kind of in the Clevenger boat.
I'd give him 12.
Yeah, 12. 1 year 12, I would give him that. But that's crazy. I mean, that's a guy that was just traded for Edgar Caro. It's tough to watch, and it's really frustrating because we were so excited about. I'm still excited about the Guardians. Like, I think they can bounce back. The reason why they put a position player in is so that they have the whole bullpen for the rest of the series, because it's still a very pivotal series for them. That was just game 1, right?
It is 1 game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just game 1. If they can't take the next 2, they're in big trouble. Yeah. They're in big trouble. But when you add a guy through waivers and in his first start, he kills you. I mean, he's playing a part now in killing 2 teams that we're trying to recapture some hope in the playoff race. And, obviously he doesn't want to do that, but it's tough to see.
It's really hard to see, but tonight, man, circle this game on your calendars, both tonight and tomorrow night, because tonight at 6:10, Sonny Gray and Tanner Bybee. Tomorrow at 1:10, Joe Ryan and Gavin Williams. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. And I think the Guardians felt like those games could be won in the bullpen. I think you're going to get quality starts across. You might get 4 quality starts between those 2 games.
Yeah.
Rest the bullpen up, let Fry protect it. It's just crazy that he had to keep going out there. I'd be so miserable. Nice. It's fun for 1 inning. It's tolerable for 2. If you got to go 3, 4. Oh gosh, that just sucks.
I'm at 50 pitches and I'm going out for the 4th.
Yeah, I wonder how sore he is. He's throwing him at like 60 miles an hour, but you are still like leaning down a mound and throwing it in reps.
There. Yeah, like it's
can't feel great. It's not like something he's entirely used to, but is that enough for you to just say, nah, Guardians are dead now? Or next 2 games? If they lose 1 of the next 2, are they dead?
I think so.
Do they have to win both to be alive?
I think so. But my thing is, like, I know it's just 1 loss, but getting 20-pieced in game 1 of a massive series. If this was game 2, I may feel different about it, but it was game 1, man. Like, you're up. It's, hey, we're taking on the division leader who has looked vulnerable and we're riding this great stretch. And we just got really aggressive at the waiver deadline. You have all this good juju going on. You go in, you're smiling, and then you get punched in the mouth to the point where all your teeth fall out.
Yes.
I feel terrible if I'm Cleveland right now.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how they turn the page. I'm rooting for him, though. I hope tough draw with the next 2 games, getting a revitalized Joe Ryan and Sonny Gray, who's been throwing the shit out of the ball, but should be a fun challenge. I'm still circling those games, dude. I'm still watching those next 2. I am.
I don't blame you, man. I'm watching Lance Lynn and To Be Determined on Wednesday afternoon in Miami. That's going to be great. Let's wrap with Chris Getz and the White Sox thing. Stayed away from it last week because I was just frustrated by the hire, and I don't know. It felt like a pile-on process. But now that we've kind of had a long weekend to palate, Chris Getz is named the new GM of the Chicago White Sox. We talked about this guy. He was the mastermind behind Project Birmingham, which was, hey, whatever level you're at, let's surround Lions with Lions. You put all the best prospects in Double A at Birmingham for the last month and a half of last season. And that was maybe the worst idea in minor league baseball history.
Yeah,
Colson Montgomery had a sub 500 OPS. Wes Koth had a sub 500 OPS. Brian Ramos really struggled. There were a bunch of pitchers that really stunk. It was like so demoralizing. And you took guys that weren't ready to see Double A pitching or hitting, and you just put them out to dry because, hey, they were in a better clubhouse and a more talented clubhouse.
Yeah, I was like,
now that guy's running a team.
Yeah, I was like, do you think anyone gives a shit that the guy on deck behind me is really good, so this will make this 98-mile-per-hour fastball easier to hit? Like, no. I get what they're trying to do, but that's what the Arizona Fall League's for.
Yeah.
And they're surrounded by studs on a bunch of different teams, and you collaborate on thoughts and ideas, and that's why the Fall League is so damn cool. And by the way, I've already gathered a few names through word of mouth of some folks who will be in the Arizona Fall League. It's going to be fun again. There's going to be a lot of fun names out there. So should be pretty cool. And that should be coming out relatively soon. But yeah, that was just an absurd idea. I won't let one idea define a man, but that is not a great start. Obviously, he's done some other good things. I will say that this White Sox system has started to get stronger, and some guys have made some nice progress. So I am intrigued to see what he does in this role. But I don't know, what would you have liked to see them do? Like, it would have been expensive, and I don't know. We talk about some of the guys that they could have went and got a James Click, or they could have went and got a Stearns or any of those guys. Do you think they want that job?
Yeah, I think so, because it's the lead job at a team. Click is the number 2 in Toronto right now to Ross Atkins. I think Click would leave for that number 1 job. And like, listen, the White Sox, like, that can be a good job if you are, a really good GM. And it looked like Rick Hahn had a really good job. 2 years ago, right? And it just kind of blew up in his face. Honestly, all I wanted was an external hire. That's all I wanted. The fact that they went internal. I mean, we haven't seen a more poorly run organization in Major League Baseball in decades.
Well, that's the thing. So if you're James Click, what's the commonality here? It's Reinsdorf. Do you want to deal with that?
Cleaning house thing. Like, Click can go in. He has no ties to anybody in that clubhouse, and he can just say screw it, and he can clean all what needs to be cleaned. And then Getz is like, well, I drafted this guy, I signed this guy, and maybe this guy's a piece of shit and a detriment to the clubhouse, but if he's good in a White Sox uniform, that's a win for me. There are just so many subconscious biases here with an internal hire. Yeah. All I wanted them to do was go outside this loyal family that Jerry Reinsdorf has built, because frankly, it's a dysfunctional ass family. If you've watched The Bear, it looks like what the hell's going on in that Fishes episode.
Yeah, it's funny because I find it so bizarre that they'd want to keep it in-house when it's been so dysfunctional. Wouldn't you want a taste breaker? Wouldn't you want something that's just different, that a different perspective from an organization that is won? Click is won a lot, or even Stearns. That's another. There's probably other options out there of just folks who have won ball games and better run organizations and go from there. I'm with you. I think they should have went outside. They didn't. We'll see how Getz does. But it just, to me, sounds like it's going to be a lot more years of the White Sox being the White Sox. And you just got to hope that they've identified talent and develop it. And I guess that's what they're going to lean into here with Getz, is they're hoping that they have somebody that can cultivate the farm system and build it that way, because that Reinsdorf isn't going to spend. I still can't believe that Andrew Benintendi is the highest paid player in franchise history, free agent in franchise history.
Yeah. Dude, it's going to happen at some point. Like they're going to make a change for the better at some point. But this was a shit experience, and getting really Chicago on you to wrap. They finally threw in the towel when they hired Arturas Karnisovas to run the Bulls, who was excellent in Denver. When they got rid of Gar Forman and John Paxson, like that was needed. That is the other organization that Jerry Reinsdorf owns. But we know Jerry Reinsdorf likes the White Sox way more than he likes the Bulls. And as soon as he got out of the Bulls situation, they made a good external hire. I just wonder when that comes. When does he get out of the White Sox way? And it just doesn't feel like it's happening anytime soon. So that's it.
Yeah, I guess the real hope is that Chris Getz learns quickly and can be better than you think he might be, which is possible.
Rogue, totally
possible. Very possible. So we'll see. But there is some good young talent budding there, and we'll see what the White Sox do.
Yep. All right. Walker Buehler tomorrow, Pitching Ninja Thursday. All three of us on Friday. Loaded week. Thanks for joining us for part 1 of this 4-part week. He's Aram. I'm Jack. Every link you need in the episode description. And with that, we will talk to you guys tomorrow.